Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. It doesn't even matter to me who the actress was. Some of you may have seen the video, and I credit Don Calypso for sharing the video with me. Shout out to him. But to sum it up, as I was writing this, I then saw a reply to my question to him asking who she was, who was a psychopath sitting on this couch of this podcast saying this stuff. And he told me. This woman sat up and said that incels should be sent to die in war to protect the same society that taught her to look down on guys who can't figure out women, while also teaching her entire gender to be just as mysterious, but twice as dishonest and deceptive as traditional women in less altered societies. Now, you've heard me say that even traditional women are too damn mysterious at times. But in these traditional societies, they don't generally just go around blaming men for not being able to figure them out. They know they're mysterious. Whereas in the West, they'll sit up and be dishonest, deceptive bitches and then blame men for the same thing, for not being able to figure them out. When I asked who she was, Don Calypso replied that she was Lisa Ann, and that her heyday was the 90s and early 2000s. Now, I didn't hear of her, so her heyday must have been after I became Muslim, which was the early 2000s. But if she was legally old enough to be a dirty movie actress back then, she ought to be a MILF now. But here she was introduced as doing OnlyFans by her own admission on the interview, and she had the nerve to say something so dumb that it calls her age into question, if you want to be too polite to call her maturity into question. Guys are out here paying to see her and fantasizing about her, but she's a dingbat that has no analytical thinking skills from what I can make out. And you've heard me say to you before that whatever reason a woman might have for not wanting to smash a man is a reason a man should refuse to marry or smash a woman as well. Being a dumbass is one of them. Now, for these ladies, being dumb or being smart is a reason to not want a particular man. But being too smart, there's still a difference, because we would disqualify an intelligent woman if she misused her intelligence, which is what the West trains them to do anyway. But would we really say, oh, you deserve to be a femcel because you're intelligent? Fell hucking no, we wouldn't say that. Even if men applied what I said, then no, we wouldn't be as sexually evil as Westernicians are these days. Lisa Ann set up and derided men who rub one out while looking at her. But these are the ones that would pay to look at her if she's on OnlyFans. She's not going to be on there for free. So while I tell these same men to not do this sort of thing because that's not chastity and that's beneath them, her message is really just a vocalization of the Westernicians' social programming and its resultant artificial instinct to say, ew, a man that other women don't want looking at me with lust because I look good. Bitch, those are guys that will pay to see you. Guys who other women want will only see you if they just so happen to scroll somewhere online and you pop up. And I don't even know how likely that is, since I haven't lived in the USA for a long time to track those changes. And shout out to Black Uru Strikes, who even mentioned on my post from earlier today that when these women see a man they want, that man's going to have other options. He doesn't have to make an approach. Why the hell should he? He's getting approached. Women give these men not only choosing signals, but they approach these men. And they also have other ways to entertain themselves. And men that these women don't want, well, they've already found other ways to keep themselves entertained or diverted, take your pick. But they've learned, okay, well, see, all of the male gender has learned at this point that the women are going for what they want anyway, except the responsible man they want. I do know that Lisa Ann said that the guys who see her at trade shows nowadays give her some sick feelings that guys previously didn't give her. Well, women are getting more confusing, more difficult, angry, and getting their hearts broken at younger ages by older men, and are therefore more bitter at younger ages. Guys are getting lied to even more at younger ages. Guys are intentionally being left more clueless if they're lucky enough to not be lied to back to back. They're the lucky ones relatively. The hell did her supposed to be mature behind expect? The hell did Tracee Ellis-Ross expect? If Tracee Ellis-Ross had standards and didn't do dirty movies and still can't find a man to take her seriously, then what the hell does a dingbat with no talent other than banging strangers on film, unless she's hiding a talent, expect from men, especially young men? See, the fact is that Tracee Ellis-Ross, who doesn't diss younger guys, but rather targets them, preys on them according to the standards of the women themselves, has more use and value to young men than Lisa Ann, oh immature, hateful behind. Lisa Ann, you helped create these guys. End of. Old biddies like you who refuse to be practice dummies for these young dudes for any reason other than actual chastity are actually not only useless to men, but you're of a negative value until you require some talent. I didn't say require, but until you acquire some talent to help a young guy advance his life in other ways. You ain't gonna teach him how to riz and smash chicks, then you have to find something else. Now, I'm going to explain why I, a Muslim man, would say something like this. Bear with me. I'm going to land that jet black aircraft. Old biddies who expect, better yet, old biddies who accept being practice dummies at least have accepted the result of what they chose and demanded when they were younger. The result of demanding that men be experienced enough to know what they wanted without them having to communicate with these men. I'll never forget when a married Muslim woman told her husband that she wouldn't have married him if he or she had known that he had a child before he was Muslim. Now, because that man was in a similar position to mine, I was not going to forget what he said since I could hear them talking. He said to her, well, you didn't want to marry a virgin man, so this is the result of which you insisted. Allah could give you me, a virgin you don't want, or no one at all. Every preference has a consequence. So, of course, I had to store that in my head just in case I ever had to say the same thing later. I'm going to tell you now that these old biddies, and I'm saying this as a milfophile who doesn't go for younger women, but these old biddies who don't want to be practice dummies for younger men, who don't understand women above or below the belt, are worth less than worthless as far as a man's life is concerned. They got a negative value because they're going to bring a man the same headache, but they don't want to do exactly what the hell they still want a man to know how to do. They don't want to explain to a man exactly what the hell they want him to know how to do. The way out of that worthlessness is to bring another value to the man's life, like a business skill. Mind you, this is coming from a Muslim man who doesn't want women or men out there fornicating. But chastity isn't the reason that these old biddies who say no to being practice dummies actually say no to it. Instead of saying no to that for reasons of chastity, they say no to that because of the egos and the vanity and this need they've got to decline men. Those aren't noble reasons, and that is why I don't respect the same answer coming from them that I would demand my daughters give to the same question. See, my daughters know now while they're young to not start down that road because that's the road of inchastity. These old biddies are now lamenting the lack of experience men have while being the reason that men who do try to get such are discouraged. And see, Lisa Ann, let's get back to her. She was talking in emasculating ways about these men for not doing what she wouldn't approve of them doing anyway. And not for reasons of chastity, but for reasons that shouldn't apply to her because of the profession she chose. Well, what right do you have to vanity? What you gonna be vain about? She bragged about having a notch count on her bedpost. Yeah, of course, you're a woman. I've told men to stop being so damn easy, but until they listen, you have nothing to brag about. It's like when what was that name? I always forget her name. The one whose parents are from Lebanon. Mia Khalifa sat up and said, "You know how many guys I wanted? I've always gotten a man I want. You know how many guys have wanted me and never got me? That's nothing to brag about. It's too easy to brag about that. It's like sitting up and saying, you know how many times I've slam dunked on the moon? Yeah, it's 1/6 the gravity of Earth. How you gonna brag about something like that? You know how many goals I've slam dunked from a trampoline? You did it from a trampoline. Shut up. But to make matters worse, let me tell you guys this. In the process of writing this down, I learned something about Lisa Ann. At some point, I'm sure it was over a year ago. I don't know, but it was a while back. At some point, she tried on camera to give out free hugs to men, and they declined one after the other, according to the summary of the video and the contents underneath it. Yesterday, I said to you that when a woman gets rejected or declined by men, even when she thinks he's supposed to reject her, she has to then punish other men she doesn't want even more. The worst thing a man can be around a woman is a guy she doesn't want after a guy she does want declines her. That is why I told you the best thing to be in front of Western women is invisible. Well, apparently, this is true even for women that are supposed to be mature like her. No wonder you young guys won't approach. Keep up that wall of silence, gentlemen. Now, those guys that go to Lisa Ann at some shows and tell her that they rubbed one out while watching her are doing worse by telling her anything at all than they are by doing anything else that they've done. I mean, to pay for this stuff is worse because it rewards her. And then to go to at a show and tell her is worse because it sends her the wrong message. These things are worse than watching a video of her and rubbing one out, and that's bad enough. But she doesn't deserve the feedback she's getting, this positive feedback loop. She doesn't deserve better guys according to her own standards. She deserves that wall of silence. Tracee Ellis-Ross probably deserves that wall of silence. I bet money Michelle Obama deserves that wall of silence. Oprah deserved that wall of silence decades ago. Women that listened to Oprah deserved that wall of silence decades ago. We already know that the ones who are out here now in their 20s and 30s replacing them deserve that wall of silence. They aren't maturing as they get older in many cases, and they certainly won't mature if they keep their looks. And this is a bad choice for you men. So keep up that wall. But tell this to the men that women think are incels or who are actually such, so that there won't be this opportunity for these broads to belittle men in general so much like they do. See, their belittlement of these men is not from disappointment, gentlemen. It's from hatred. Some other wild ditzy bimbo betches sat on some podcast over a year ago and said that men should be homeless for a year in some country in which they don't speak the language as some sort of rite of passage, as if wide broads like Karen and Becky and Amber know about rites of passage anyway. That's hatred. That's entitlement. More importantly, it's a chance for us to see into their psyche and understand that they don't really want the guys they want to bear the burdens of manhood. The men that they don't want are the ones they still want bearing these burdens of manhood, paying the bills of manhood. They want the guys they don't like to bear the burdens on behalf of the men they like. They don't want Chad to be homeless for a year in a nation in which he doesn't know the language. They want Pimpleface to be homeless for a year in a place in which he doesn't know the language. They want Birdchest to either die homeless in winter in Kazakhstan or to be blown to bits in the Ukraine, or better case scenario, if he has the audacity to not get killed and still survive with his ugly self the way these women feel, then he'll gather the skills that he can use to do the heavy lifting on behalf of Chad in the West, where Becky and Karen and Amber are entitled to his skills without any compensation. Lisa Ann wants the guys who come to her and say, I rub one out to you all the time, to be sent to war to die, because they developed enough sense to not actually pursue women to try to slide into a vagina for real, because they know that they're just going to be used for resources or for anything but sex. This means they caught on to a certain extent. And so they're no longer good for tricking to do the heavy lifting on behalf of the guy she calls to come, all puns intended, to her house to film the next OF video with her. She wants these unwanted guys to pay the manhood bills for the guys she wants to smash and doesn't blame other women for smashing either. This is the imbalance they insist on maintaining at all costs. And thus, the only thing these guys at the trade show she says comes up to her and gross her out are doing that harms other men is to tell her they watch her videos at all and then to turn around, go back home and pay for the next video. That's it. That's all they do that harms other guys, really. When these men learn to just keep up the wall of silence and not even so much as pay, then they will begin to deprive the Westernisha of the knowledge, feedback, context, confidence, vanity, and sheer willpower to keep up their war of deception and manipulation to get what they want without an even, fair exchange. How do we define an exchange as fair and even? Well, use the women's own standards and definitions of those words, and that's exactly what they are refusing. Because they've gotten all the knowledge, feedback, confidence, vanity, and sheer willpower to refuse. Nothing is working like that wall of silence does. And among the Wyatts, these guys who go to Lisa Ann, if she's not lying just to bitch about young guys these days who pay her bills, are the crack in that wall of silence. But for us as black men, though, make sure that none of us composes any crack at all in that wall of silence that needs to be between us and any Westernisha of any origin. And shout out to Lionel McTow for bringing up how we must maintain that wall of silence. Give them nothing. I would say to such men that go to Lisa Ann or anybody else at any of these trade shows, I think she calls them. I guess these are shows where these loose, dirty movie broads gather. Well, these guys that go there should be reached, especially if you see some black men there. But truth be told, maybe even maybe even the wide guys in that situation need to be reached. And they need to be told that nothing is working on these broads the way that the wall of silence is. That since these are guys, none of whom are actually winning according to women's own definition of women winning with the women, then once they stop paying attention, once they stop validating these broads out in public, then what'll happen is that they're no longer going to be belittled and have all these expectations of them in exchange for nothing. For us black men, understand this. Nothing else will help your cause, and nothing else will help today's little boys have a better chance of better choices when they get older if this uncracked wall of silence isn't in place right now. Thank you for listening. As always, black heart, black mind, black out. Assalamu alaikum and black heterosexual, non-select male power just because they don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day. Thank you for flying with us again here on Jet Black Air, where the phrase jet black is also a verb. Keep jetting black with us till the wings and the wheels fall off. And on your way out of the jet black aircraft, do not hit that Cash App button for any amounts that are going to hurt you. But let me give a shout out to Malika Maybani and Saffron for coming through on the Cash App. Gender, justice, forever.